So hello, welcome everyone to our March Evening with the Experts event at NAMI Multnomah. My name is Alyssa, I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator here, and I am joined by some wonderful speakers this evening. And to start off, I'm going to hand off to Dr. Selena Norton.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Selena Norton. I'm U.S. Army veteran retired. I spent 20 years and 17 days in U.S. Army. I was in Bosnia, a couple of tours to Germany, a tour to Korea, and then back to Columbia, South Carolina, where I retired from a basic training unit. And I've been in Portland, Oregon since 2007. Working with veterans. I was a service organization assistance officer with Disabled American Veterans for about 5 years. Then I was commander of the DAV, and then I went to work for Department of Veterans Affairs for about 5 years, and now I'm just retired, working with NAMI part-time and still assisting veterans in any way that I can. And one of the most important things that I stress to veterans is to file their disability claims for compensation or pension. If it has a medical name to it, it's compensable. If you hurt yourself in the military, if you developed a illness or a disease or some sort of injury, you can file that claim once you become a veteran. And no matter how small you think it is, I encourage all veterans to file their claims, because over time, disabilities get worse. And the way the VA sees it is every 2 years, your disability will get worse. So if you file a claim and you get approved and they say give you a 10% or a 20% rating, because they say it's a mild case, 2, 3, 4 years, it's gonna get worse one way or another. So you have the right to file a claim for an increase in that disability. But you also need to be aware that certain disabilities only are rated at a certain percentage, like certain parts of the knees. There's one part of the knee, like the patella, it only goes to 10%. So if they give you a 10%, don't file an increase, because you're not gonna get anything any higher than that. Then there's another part of the knee, like the meniscus. I think the highest rating is a 30%. So if you're rated at a 10 or a 20, couple of years later, it gets worse, your pain increases, then go ahead and file for an increase in that disability. And that's the same with any part of your body, all except for tinnitus. Tinnitus is 10% across the board, no matter what. Also, you have a general information line with the Department of Veterans Affairs that will answer all your benefits questions, whether you're receiving benefits or not, and that's the 800 number. I can put it in a chat room if you like. It's 800-827-1000. There's also the Mission Act. If we have veterans here tonight who's receiving disability and they need to see a medical doctor or a mental health physician for any reason, and say the VA doesn't have any appointments of late, because I tried a couple of weeks ago to get a VA appointment with my primary care, and they still were more than 30 days out. So then I was forced to go to a urgent care under the Mission Act. So we're still using the Mission Act if you don't want to, wait to get a VA appointment. But I encourage you to call the VA first. Call your primary care to see if they have anything under 30 days. And the Mission Act number, that's also an 800 number. It's 698-2411, and they are open 24/7. It doesn't matter what time of the day or evening that you call or what day of the week it is. Also, the caregiver support. If you have a veteran who in need of a caregiver, there's a number for that. Doesn't matter how great the need or how less the need, you need to go ahead and get that veteran connected with the caregiver. And women, women veterans, we used to have a hard time getting our own physicians in our own center, but for the last, 10 years or so, we've had a center for women veterans, and we have one located at the Hospital on the Hill, 3710 Southwest US Veterans Hospital Road. And I encourage females to use that service in addition to your primary care. The different service organizations that we have to help veterans file their claim for benefits, these organizations provide services all free of charge. You have organizations out there that are charging veterans, but there's a regulation, the 38 CFR, that says service organizations and the Department of Veterans Affairs will assist veterans free of charge. You have NAVVETS, National Association of Black Veterans. Don't let the name scare you away. They will help all nationalities. They'll help anybody. Disabled American Veterans, AMVETS, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Military Order of the Purple Heart, and also the VA Benefits Administration will help you the same. You can just walk in and ask for a service officer and they will provide a service for you free of charge. And some of your benefits, primary benefits that veterans are entitled to, remember your benefits are an entitlement. They're a right, they're not a privilege. That's, you have burial and cremation benefits, you have compensation and pension benefits, healthcare benefits to include mental health, education, vocational rehab, housing benefits, home loan benefits, and parks and recreations. That's just to name a few. And if you need any assistance with any of those benefits, go to www.va.gov or call that 1-800-827-1000 number. Are there any questions?
I'd like to piggyback on that, Doctor, is that ODVA also has many services that are in the same line that you just provided. And also our veterans getting health care need to be enrolled in Health Vet. They get a better and faster appointment, and especially if some of ours who need mental health, anger management, they will get that for free for 10 sessions.
When did Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs start back assisting veterans? Because I know a couple of years ago, they have my power of attorney, and they told me they stopped filing claims for veterans. So
I'm a tribal veteran service officer, was at Warm Springs, certified under ODVA, and I filed many claims for our tribal veterans under ODVA.
So, but is that the one downtown Portland, Oregon?
No, that's NARA.
Okay, the NARA. Okay, then yeah, say NARA, because once downtown Portland, Oregon, they're not taking new people. But NARA, that's for the Native American tribes, right?
That's for all Native American tribes. Plus, they do just about everyone. I just came from Warm Springs, Confederate Tribes of Warm Springs, where I was a tribal veteran service officer there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And they'll help you whether or not you're a Native American, but primarily for Native Americans.
That's correct. And right now I'm bringing that expertise over to NARA. So they're allowing me to go ahead and see veterans who need to file claims. That's not my primary job, but I do assist our veterans with the CNP exams and all the pensions and so on and so forth that they need, getting a DD-214 with SF-180, so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, yeah, I think I did, Washington County Service Officers. They're in Hillsborough. They are very good. They've been doing it for a long time, helping veterans with their claims, and they are also free of charge too. So thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Also, you know, the big things I've seen also is a lot of our veteran females are funding a lot of claims for MST.
Military sexual trauma?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, that's been going on a long time now. I mean, when I got out in 2015, it was very little word of it. But in the last 5 years or so, 5 to 8 years or so, now it's like saying candy, because everybody used to whisper military sexual trauma.
Or like
MST.
Yeah, PTSD was a big buzzword. Now it's TBI.
That PTSD did used to be, that was also off limits for a while, and they wouldn't even recognize it 20 years ago.
Right.
And if they did, then you have to go through hell and high water to prove that you had it. Now you don't have to have all that proof.
No, it's a
So that's why
buzzword. Yeah.
I encourage all veterans, get out of the military, you file a claim. If it hurts, file a claim. Now, if it hurts once every 4 or 5 years, that's not a disability.
Mm-mm.
But if it hurts once a week or every day, that's a disability. You
And
do
make
not
sure
have,
that and make sure your primary provider has a record of it, because when we go back and try to file that claim, if it's just once, like you said, every once 3 or 4 years, they're not going to approve it. But if you see your provider once a week, make sure there is record of it, because that's our nexus to get the next up on their claim.
well, it's easier. You can still get it probably through an appeal if you don't
Mhm.
have it, but it's just easier on the benefits process if
Mhm.
you show a pattern of it. And
Mhm.
also let your primary care or whomever it is that you're seeing know how long it's been going on. Like, this started 20 years ago. And
Mhm.
I didn't know I could file a claim for it, because a lot of people don't know they can file a claim for it, or they think that if they're not missing an arm or a leg or in a wheelchair, that it's not a disability. But nowadays we have disabilities that you can't see,
Agent Orange.
Agent Orange, PTS, and the D,
Mhm.
body aches, you know.
And a
I
lot of
tell
people don't understand what service connection is either.
Yeah, well, that's why, I recommend they get a service officer to help them out.
Mhm. And that's what I do.
Well, that's awesome. Anybody else?
There was one thing that I had put in a claim for Agent Orange to the VA, got to 20% disability, and I'm retired Air Force. But what I wasn't told, and I found out by talking to, I was at a meeting and just got to talking to somebody, is that, I was getting a 20% disability, which was kind of subtracted from my retirement pay, giving me the tax-free. But what they didn't tell me was that I could also apply to the Air Force for the, combat-related special compensation, which then kind of replaced that $250 or $300 some dollars what I'm getting right now. And I wish that, so the Air Force backdated it 2 years for me, but I only found that out by casual conversation I was having with somebody. Says, you ought to apply for that. And I did, and got, it was approved within a matter of weeks.
Yeah, but Don, they sent information out. I don't know whether or not you got it, but a lot of veterans got it. They didn't realize what they were reading, because as I was retiring in 2005, they had just approved that. It's CRSC. One's combat and one's non-combat. I was non-combat, but still CRSC, because it used to be, if the VA gave you $1,200, they subtracted that $1,200
Right.
from your retirement pay.
Yeah, so
But
I retired in '89 though.
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
when they approved that for veterans, it wasn't that long ago. It was back in 2005, 2004, 2005. They sent notices out to everybody to apply for it. And the word probably just didn't get to you. And I'm sorry you were one of those veterans where the word didn't get to you.
Well, and now when you tell me that, what it might mean is that I applied for that disability only maybe 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Ah,
So that might that closes the loop for me right there. So
Mhm.
now I
yeah,
understand.
but I'm glad that you're getting it now, because yes, now it doesn't matter how much you get from the VA. You get your full retirement check and vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah, that always kind of confused me.
Yeah.
I got a disability and they take it away from my retirement check. But anyway, it
Yeah,
worked out.
they used to do that. I'm so glad I missed that era, because it would have pissed me off. It really would have. But listen, you guys, if you know people who are out there and it's happening to them, just like enlighten them, because like I said, these benefits, they're not a privilege. They're our entitlement. We're entitled to these benefits. They're our rights.
The Air Force did backdate it for me, so I got
Mhm.
a good amount of money. So that was good.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I have a question, and this is regards to, I was just up at the VA the other day, and I went in because I had a tooth hanging from my mouth. And I went in to see if I had any benefits, and I went through the dental program. I myself used to be a 91 Echo, and I'll try to make this real short. However, back in 83 to 85, I worked for an oral surgeon, and he did a maxillary palatal expansion with the lower mandibular reduction on me and said, within 40 years, your whole mouth is going to start shifting. Well, bada bing, 40 years came, boom, it hit. So I went into the dental to see if I could be covered, to see if they can take this tooth out that's dangling. And they said, well, you need to check and see if you're benefited. Meaning, if you're not benefited, they don't cover dental. Is that correct? Or
You have to be 100%
100%.
disabled
Yeah,
to get the dental benefits or service connected for that condition. That's
yes.
the only way.
right. Yeah, and I told them, well, I had all the surgery in the service, and he said, well, you still have to go see if you're 100%. So
Well, you don't have to see if you're 100%. If you had all the surgery and service, you have to file a claim for it. If you're absent of that claim and you're not 100%, they will not work on you.
oh, so how do I file? What do I do to file a claim?
Williams, you want to help them out?
Well, you can go to the nearest VSO and give them your story. If you have a medical record that can substantiate your claim, then have them file for you. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to happen overnight, but go ahead and get that
Right.
claim on file, because that is service connected, because the service did work on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm working with the VSO in Hillsborough, which is
Oh, yeah.
outstanding, by the way.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
they are outstanding. They started when I started back in 2007. Okay, so Alyssa, at any time, if you need any of these numbers or the website, let me know. And then you can send them out with the rest of the information.
Mhm.
Will do.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
That's good information, Doctor, because a lot of people don't know about those 800 numbers, what's available to them. And
Yes, sir.
If you can send that to Alyssa, maybe she can email that to all of us, and we can pass that out to everybody else, our clients and so on and so forth. And we'll get that word all out to them, because unless they call us, we don't get the word out.
That's right. You're absolutely right. A lot of people won't get it. So I'm going to take off early. I'm out of state, this, that, and the other. And Alyssa, before I go, I'm going to put these 800 numbers in the chat for you.
Awesome. I put a couple of them in there when you were talking, but if I missed any of them, feel free to add the rest of them. And while you're doing that, we can hand off to Dan.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Doctor.
Hey, thank you, Selena. It's good to see you again, Frank.
Hey, thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I'd like to spend, my portion of this to talk about things that are happening here at NAMI Multnomah and, with our collaboration with OHA, or a grant from OHA to provide peer support for veterans. And I'll touch on a little bit about why it sounds like a lot of you are super knowledgeable. But I'm still going to touch on where peer support can come in handy and how that can be a great access point for resources. I'll start with that. As I think we all know, sounds like through this conversation, we all know that, as a veteran, we always hear about there's all these resources out there. They can be hard to connect with, they can be hard to find, and the journey to getting connected with those can be even more arduous. When I think about someone who, like myself, I'll just use me as an example, who is, maybe a little bit reluctant to ask for help, to the point where I used to that wasn't something I was going to do. When it comes to accessing these benefits, can be so daunting. I mean, just completing a disability comp pen claim is super, super intrusive in a lot of ways. And then feeling that long wait on the VA line, doing those things can be really difficult. So I always like to give a plug to our own organization here at NAMI, places like the Vet Center that have a little bit ease of access. Different things that ODVA is doing. And also, the smaller groups that are out there, well, some of them are big, like Team Rubicon and Project Able and places like that to provide peer support and volunteerism. They're big. But again, I can remember being a veteran myself who's thinking oh man, where can I go to access these resources? I get on the website and it was just, I think I turned the computer off. It was okay, you got to start at this step and this step. Maybe I called a few numbers. Maybe I sort of got put on a hold and I got super disgruntled about it. And, it's tough. And so I value a lot of the work that I hear that you all do and that I do and, NAMI's doing and, folks at the VA are doing and folks at the Vet Center are doing. I think about the value of peer support, connecting veterans to peer support. It's about connecting someone who's been on that journey themselves. It can help navigate that early step. It can help, diffuse in that moment what's going on, asking for help, going to the enrollment desk and being able to help to communicate for someone. I've gone with veterans who were like me, were super already just in a place where they were angry, got to the VA and was helped translate, help get, grease the skids for that care to happen sooner than later. So the person on the other end of that conversation feels like, you're talking to somebody who may have done it before, so I can translate that info for the veteran in crisis to the people that are talking. So, in a way, it's almost like I'm asking for help for someone. I remember when I was getting started in my care too, that felt a little bit easier than me asking for myself, honestly, and I feel like that's true for others. I mean, everybody's different, but I feel like that. I want to talk about the Veteran Behavioral Health Peer Support Program that we're starting here at NAMI. I want to start by saying that it's brand new. I mean, we literally started figuring this out on Monday of last week. I'm already like, what's today? Today, Monday? Yeah, Monday of last week. And it's so new that, I'd love to be able to give you all a flyer. I'd love to be able to give you information about how we take referrals and where referrals come from, what we're going to do. And I can't yet because we're still gleaning that out. We're still figuring out our database and reporting. But what I can say is that I believe that this will be something that grows beyond, myself and the 2 peer support specialists that we hired to do this work very quickly. Because it's peer support that's not, yeah, we're part of NAMI, we work for NAMI, but it's with a grant, so we're organic. We're not part of the VA system. We're not part of the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, and we almost are our own little entity, so we can meet people where they're at, refer. In the sense, when I say refer, I mean let someone know that there's a resource out there and how to get in touch with it, sit with them while they get in touch with it. So we can refer out to any resource in the state, really, and meet somebody where they're at, and most importantly, work with them for 6 months at a time, if that's something that they're interested in. Something that the ODVA is funding, and it's also something that Oregon Health Authority is funding. Or Oregon Health Authority, this is their project, something they want to see happen. ODVA accepted a grant offer from us as well, and so ODVA is funding it so we can hire more peer support specialists. Originally, it was just going to be, I think, me, which would be a little bit of a daunting task. I mean, realistically, I'd love to see a platoon of like 35 of us in this role doing this work. I think that there's enough need out there in the community that 35 may not even be enough. We're starting out with 3. And the mission of this is to ultimately help bridge the gap between either a veteran needing care, not understanding where to even start, or a veteran who's already in care, receiving care, and with like a peer to walk with them through their journey of recovery so they don't feel alone, to help talk about like what worked for me, what happened with me. And then when they meet challenges and when they meet barriers, that are out there, we can help navigate that together. Also looking to, help vets find community and find support and, find ways to give back if that's something that they're into. So another project I'll talk about really quickly off on a tangent that we're looking to start hopefully soon, the grant request is in, is to offer a way to bring like a cadre of veterans together who want to give back to community, who want to work at a resource. We'll work together on that, and there will be a peer support specialist with them as part of this little cadre team of veterans that goes out maybe to a food bank, goes out to a resource that's out in town, volunteers together. At the end of the day, we all share a meal together and just rap about what's going on, and in that moment bring peer support in organically. So it's not like hey, the purpose of today is to talk about what's going on. There's not that vulnerability aspect. The purpose of the day is for us all to get together, go out there and lend a hand, and then eat a meal together. And then in and amongst that, if questions start coming up, someone starts, starting to feel like, hey man, I got a question, Dan, like, I got this going on, I got that going on. Like, how do I get to this? How do I get to that? We can start having the conversation there in an organic way. We anticipate the VBH PSS, the Veteran Behavioral Health Peer Support Program, being sort of often running at a place where we have our database down, we got our referrals figured out, we know our flow, we got the scope, in about a month. I think that's a reasonable goal. We're working on collaborations with different programs that are out there, sort of gleaning out like where we'll start, because we're going to start this out small. Our mission is to start it out in a way where we're not going to be where we don't have to worry about saying no to a veteran that's looking for support. So we're going to start out gradually. We're going to move into it. But I'm telling you all, like, there's a part of me that's sitting here and going, in 2 years from now, there's going to be like 50 veterans like doing this work, and this thing is going to be huge, and it's going to it's just going to blossom. It's going to grow into this thing, because I think about what was most important to me in my own recovery. You know, for context, I'm a veteran from the Iraq War, Marine veteran. I'm PTSD, and you know, addiction was part of my coping. And I went to VA inpatient at the RTP program, a substance abuse treatment program in Vancouver, Washington. I didn't believe that there was anything coming back from methamphetamine addiction at the time. I thought that was it for me. And I'm sitting there and I see this guy kind of walk up, and he's a peer support specialist. I didn't know what peer support specialist is. I had no idea. And he comes up, his name's Aaron Barrow. He still works there. I always like to give him a plug. And he comes up and he's like, hey man, what's going on? Like, what do you like to do? And I'm like, what's this? Who is this person and why is he talking to me? And I go, who are you? And he's like, I'm a peer support specialist. I'm sitting there like, well, what is that? And he says, you know, I'm somebody with, you know, I'm a veteran. I've got lived experience in what you're talking about. I remember looking at him and going, man, but you look okay. Like you got this glow about you, man. Like you've been here, really? I mean, at the time I felt like I was at rock bottom, you know, and looking at this shining example of somebody in recovery wasn't intimidating. What it did was it showed me that there's hope, you know, that there's, you know, maybe I can recover too. You know, maybe this guy, maybe he knows like a way that I can do that, you know, and talk to me about it, make it real versus something that's conceptualized or something that maybe providers telling me I can do. It felt different coming from, you know, a veteran who had lived experience in what I was struggling with. I was the first moment I can think of in my recovery where I felt hope. You know, I was still working on having faith in myself and what I could do, but in that moment I said, well, maybe it looks like it is possible. Here's somebody that's done it. And in that moment I said, okay, this is something I need to do with my life if I get there. You know, and it became this mission. And so years later now, I can't count good, but 2015 and now, however many years that is, years later, it's really awesome to see this started beginning. I mean, it's something that I think we all could agree that should have been around since the day all of us were born. Should be like some peer support thing. I think about veterans. I think about who we are as people. I think about who we were in the military, and peer support is something that I think we all did naturally. You know, as part of our experience. So it's wonderful to see this become something that's going to be available to veterans in a way that it always has needed to be. It's this huge thing out there. This huge gap needs to get filled. So as this program continues, keep coming to the Evening of the Experts. I'll keep coming back and talking about it as it develops and blossoms. But I want you to know that you can at least spread the word that there's this opportunity that's happening. It's going to grow. We're going to build on it, and there'll be something that's available. In the meantime, you know, do feel free to call our helpline, or if you have my email, feel free to email me and things, because I can also help vets, you know, connect with our support group and our other veteran stuff. I'll let Barb, I'm not going to steal your thunder about the families. I'm gonna talk about like the programs that Nine Multnomah has right now. So in lieu of, I wish I could say like, hey, if you all got any questions out there, send somebody my way. But I know I do not have. I'm not superhuman. I don't have that kind of that kind of energy to field those. But I do have some place we can send folks, and that's our veteran support group. It happens every Thursday night on Zoom right now from 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's easy to find. Alyssa's going to send a flyer out with the email afterward about what it is and how to enroll. It's also on our website under the support group tab. And during that time when I facilitate, I do my peer support there and help veterans connect with resources there. Plus, you know, the folks who come to the support group, it's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, so sometimes I just kind of sit there quietly and with my timer and make sure things are flowing along while I just watch the group support each other just on their own. I mean, sometimes I feel like I could just turn the thing on and walk away and it would happen. It's a wonderful group of people that are coming. We've been going on for a year. You know, right now there's between 9 and 12 people who come every week. A lot of them have come every week for a year, you know, talk about what's happening, share resources, share support. you know, for me as a facilitator, I bring a lived experience with PTSD, moral injury, and addiction. But in that group, I think we've got lived experiences across a deck of things, you know, from trying to reintegrate after the military and figuring out like how do I even get started with life after the military, all the way to, you know, the full spectrum of things that can be going on with somebody in their life, whether they're a veteran or not, you know. And so I encourage y'all to like let folks know about that group. You know, if someone's looking for peer support right now with a veteran, I think I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that as part of the group and ask them to group support. That's the easiest, most effective way to do it. We also have, you know, our veteran peer support specialist training that happens, I think, Alyssa, three times a year. Am I right? Oh, wow. Okay, cool. That's through Cultivating a New Life. And it's in collaboration with Cultivating a New Life, provides someone for free, either, you know, a veteran specific peer support specialist certification. There's a little bit extra work to do after that with OHA to get a THW, take an oral health class about 3 hours long, and then, you know, fingerprinting and things like that, which is also free. And we're working on building our Rolodex of folks that are out there looking for veteran peer support specialists that are coming out of there. We have a lot of veterans going to these classes and a lot of veterans graduating and then asking, where do I go and do this? You know, where do I go and make this happen? And I love it because they're all veterans who, you know, walked their journey, walked their path, and can answer all the questions that this evening with the experts about, like, where are the resources at? How do I connect? How do I do my claim? What do I say on my claim? What do I not say? Where is Hillsborough? Whatever it might be, like, can help somebody walk through that, say, where is Hillsborough? Because that's like where a lot of the claims processing happens. Anyway, can help them walk through that process. And so we're working on, you know, building our, I should say, like light collaboration with the Vet Center and VA programs that are interested in having veteran peer support specialists a part of them. At VA Portland right now, that is the SATP, a spiritual program there called the Progressions series about reintegration and compassion and things like that. It's a great program. I went through it, changed my life. It's awesome. A lot of peers are part of that program. A lot of peers are part of the MST program now, and a lot of peers are working on moving peers around the SATP program in Vancouver and Portland. We also have connections with the Vet Center in Portland. Have a loose connection with the Vet Center, just my own personal relationship with someone that works there in Salem. You know, and being mindful that, you know, a lot of veterans like, man, I love to volunteer, but I'm not volunteering to be. I'm like, cool, we got the Vet Centers going on there too, so we can make that happen. And we got NAMI to volunteer at, and, you know, we're always looking for, I'd love to see my little veteran support group grow into like 3 more veteran support groups that are out there, so can offer more times a week. So if you're all interested in volunteering, you do not need to be a peer support specialist to volunteer here at NAMI to become a peer-to-peer, you know, peer-to-peer leader. Peer-to-peer is a program that we have, talks about mental health, education, resourcing, and helping each other out and helping yourself out. Do not need to be a peer support specialist to be a volunteer for that program. Do not need to be a peer support specialist to do outreach with us or facilitate a support group. Always like to mention that part. Like some folks like, I'm not a peer support specialist. I'm like, it's cool, man. You can do this. This is something that you can do. It's something that you can come here and do. We get you started. It's where I got started. Honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted to help somewhere, and I started volunteering in NAMI. It's like 4 years ago. Before I was a peer support specialist, anything like that. I love it. Sorry, I love work. I believe I covered all of the for the veteran resources that we have at NAMI. I did. Cool. I talked about the Veteran Behavioral Health Peer Support Specialist program that we're starting. Keep your ears posted for that. I want to give a plug to one resource that's also starting out there at the VA in Portland, which is kind of cool. Sort of nod or something is, are you all familiar with 5C at Portland VA? Do you know what that is? Yeah. Okay, 5C is a psychiatric inpatient ward. It can be pretty popular. I know I got a buddy of mine has 5C, worked for me, tattooed on his calf. A lot of folks have a love for that spot. Well, 5C is a starting point a lot of times for psychiatric care at the VA. If a veteran, I'll use myself as an example, shows up at the VA emergency department, psychiatric, something else going on, 5C is often the first stop. And then from 5C, you know, the VA works on how do we connect someone with substance abuse treatment or the PTSD clinic or MST clinic. The VA with Dr. Jason Chen, great guy, is working on a new program that are starting. It should be up and running in May. And what that is going to entail are veteran peer support specialists who are stationed at 5C that can help veterans with their first step in the care and treatment at 5C. And it's something that I sit here and I go, man, why hasn't this been around forever? I mean, this is such an important need. We have a program here called First Step that's for psychiatric inpatients, presentation about like what happened to me, what worked, what helped, what worked, and then what am I doing now? And then a little bit of connection stuff. We go up there and volunteer in 5C, and I was sort of filling that gap a little bit, albeit one day a week for an hour. But now this is going to be something that's organic into the VA system is happening up there. And they'll be able to provide 2 months peer support with the veteran post-discharge from 5C to help them get connected with care and start bridging those gaps. Because we've also know that the two-month period is really say a 2-week period is when if a veteran's experiencing suicide ideation with a plan or addiction, you know, and they get a little bit of sobriety, a little bit of stability, it's right after that discharge that it's really important to help someone get connected with care right away in that space. And it's just not happening the way it needs to be. And so this program is looking to help change that, you know, here in Portland. So just let vets know that if you work with anyone who's experiencing crisis, anyone who's going to 5C and doing those things around that time period, you know, do let them know there's going to be peer support specialists out there, you know, to help bridge that gap. I mean, and also want to put that in awareness. I saw a lot of you nodding your head, but I also want to put that in awareness, especially around suicide in the veteran community, that 2-week period is so important. It's so important to ask somebody that you know, just ask them the question straight up, bluntly, you know, ask them what's going on. And know that, you know, for me as a vet that helps folks in crisis, a lot of times one time I was down here at the hospital, help somebody get an Uber with the hospital's help. I mean, I didn't get to Uber, the hospital paid for it, but help them get an Uber up to that ED and just help someone get in that care. Let them know about the veteran crisis line that's out there. Alliance for Life operates. It's really awesome. Because that little time period there could be like a window of something to change somebody's life in a really positive way. Just let them know where to go and let them know you hear them and see them. And the last plug I'll talk about, it's a veteran resource, and it's also just something I'd like you all to know because you're all out there doing work in the community, is that Alliance for Life and the United States government is going to start a program. The 988 number is going to start happening here in a couple of weeks. It got signed into law, so there'll be 988 will be a national behavioral health crisis line, suicide crisis line, and also have a youth line, which is super important. It kind of blew my mind when I learned that there's maybe 5 states that had a youth crisis line even operating. So it's going to fill a huge void, help people on an earlier age. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I know I talked really quickly and I just gave you a dump of information. So do you have any questions?
I got a couple of things, Dan, I'd like to go ahead and bring up. Is first of all, I'd like to be involved with your mental health portion of the VA, with your as a volunteer. Second, there is money out there with OHA, Oregon Health Authority, a grant through OHA, which is Emily Watson. They provide money through the lottery tickets, sale of the lottery tickets here. So a portion of that is doled out to our veterans. And yeah, I agree with you on the other stuff there. So keep me in mind. I'd like to volunteer and help out. You know, I'm a 21 year Navy veteran, you know, Vietnam, and I suffer, you know, PTSD and all that stuff, and I'm pretty versed in TBI.
Frank, do you have my number, my email?
No, I don't, Dan.
I'll text. I'll send it to you in the chat. I also want to say, you know, thanks for. I talked to Emily Watson a lot. She's the main person she's kind of overseeing this VBH PSS project. You know, she's really the one who brought it to us. So I'll definitely kind of ask her like, hey, so I heard about this thing.
Yes, please do. Please do. You can tell her you heard it from me, because I got a grant when I was at Warm Springs.
I'm going to lead with that. Well, so I was talking to Frank Williams, and
yeah, that's great.
Thanks, Frank.
Yes, sir.
Another resource that I will share with you all when I email you tomorrow, Dan mentioned Jason Chen at the VA, who works in suicide prevention and intervention, and he actually did an evening with the experts with us last year that was really in-depth and amazing, and I'll be sure to include the link to that video.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, to reiterate on the suicide prevention line, I myself had to use it. But let me tell you, I don't know. Every time I was like walking the streets for a bit, I was having, anxiety, depression, tension. That crisis line all of a sudden was ringing on my phone. It was like, it was like it was weird. It was like they knew. And it was like, oh my God, you guys are calling right when I'm stressed out. This is great. So let me tell you, I just want to say that line is for real. It works, and they hold nothing against you, nothing. And it was great. And that's just what I got to say about that. Because let me tell you, it did tremendous wonders, So this
And
is
thanks for
what
being
I'm.
vulnerable and sharing that, Mike. And also thanks for letting us know that it worked out great. I mean, it's one thing hearing me say, hey, there's this line out there, it's great. It's different vibe coming from someone with lived experience. I really appreciate that. And thank you for sharing what's going on.
Oh,
It's
you
great
bet.
to see you today. It's great to see where you're at
I'm glad
today,
to
being
be
here. Well, awesome. There's no more questions for me. I appreciate you all listening as always. Great to see some familiar faces tonight. And I'm sure I'll see you out there. And Frank, I'll be in touch.
Thanks, Dan.
And we will hand over to Barb to share some resources for families and caregivers of veterans.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barbara Basson. I am 43 years married to a what he considers a Cold War Navy veteran. He is career. He had a lot of unusual experiences. If you've seen the movie Top Gun, he always was on aircraft carriers. That first 8-minute segment, if he was on a green shirt or a yellow shirt, it could have been him. So there's a lot of things go on. And Dan, I want to say something to you about what you just presented, because you talked about that there'll be people there to direct people to VA resources. And I'm going to tell you, as the spouse of a veteran who had been being seen in a VA facility for over 10 years and had never had a counselor for mental health, when someone finally said something to me about it, I went with him and said, what does he have to do to have a mental health counselor? And you know what the answer was? He had to ask for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How many veterans, how many are going to have that kind of presence of mind to say to anyone, I need a counselor? I will never forget that as long as I live. And in the process of learning about all of that, I began to realize how much support caregivers needed, family members, people who support a veteran in any way, those especially who've seen something that causes them to have PTSD, or those that have traumatic brain injury or polytrauma, any of those things. Those families, they have no idea what they're going to be tasked with, and they're out there doing the very best they can. So one of the reasons I'm very, very strong supporter of NAMI programs is because as a spouse of a veteran, I sort of found a place here where not only could I learn, but I could share. And that was really important to me. So I'm here tonight to talk to you about two things that I've been involved in that is specifically created. Both of these things were specifically created for veteran families or people who support a veteran. It doesn't have to be a family member. It can be a friend or a colleague from work or somebody who just wants to understand better what it is they're seeing in this person. How do they deal with it? How can they help? Because as you probably all know, we can always say something, but it may not be the right thing. It may actually aggravate a problem more than it can assuage a problem. So, and do we do it even when we know it all the time? You can't always, because our emotions become just as great as our veteran and our service members do. It's a tremendous challenge for us. So 2 things I want to talk to you about tonight. And the first is the NAMI Family Veteran Family Support Group. Now, Alyssa, you have these flyers, right? You're going to send them to them, right?
Yes.
After tonight? Okay.
Yep.
The first flyer is about the actual support group. We have 4 women who are peers. In other words, they are spouses or caregivers or someone who interacts with a veteran almost all the time. They've been trained by NAMI to facilitate support groups, peer support groups. Peer support is so important because if you give it a chance, you will be amazed at the amount of information and the ease that you can begin to navigate some of these systems when another spouse, another caregiver tells you, well, this worked for me and this didn't. And then somebody else at the table will say, yeah, but you know, the part that didn't work for you did work for me, and this is why. So it is really, really valuable. So the Veteran Family Support Group at this point meets the second Tuesday or the second Thursday of each month on Zoom between 6 and 7:30 p.m. As soon as we can build a cadre of people that are coming, we will add a second night. And at the present time, we believe we'll add the fourth Thursday of each month to be a second group. And then there'll be something for everyone to come to at least twice a week. This is a free drop-in support group for families and friends and caregivers of veterans and military service members. And as I'm sure all of you can identify with, there are some problems that are similar, and there are problems for each, you know, whether you're a service member or a veteran. There are problems that are similar, and there are problems that are dramatically different. So we can address as best we can all of that by having peers available in the group. It's a virtual group right now, and it's open to anyone in Oregon and Southwest Washington who identify with the community. But what I want to tell you is, even though this is how it's structured, we are absolutely amazed at the number of people who connect with these support groups, who just hear about it somehow, someplace where it's advertised, and they come from states all over the United States. Or they'll be an active duty service member who's trying to get some help for his family, who will contact us from somewhere where they're stationed. So it is amazing. As much as I like face-to-face, Zoom definitely opens doors to us that would not be there otherwise. If you have questions about the meetings or what we do, you can call NAMI's helpline, which is 503-228-5692, and ask questions, or you can email NAMI at their info@nami.org. Now, I want to talk about the people who are doing the facilitating. So as I said, right now we have 4 women. We'd love to have some guys, but right now it's 4 women who are trained by NAMI to conduct a support group in the NAMI model. And it is very, very important that we follow that model, because we are peer, we are not professionals. We can't even allude to being professionals. But what we have as knowledge as peers is amazing sometimes, just absolutely amazing. So they all fit that category. They took it's 16 plus hours of training that is done over a Saturday and Sunday, almost always, although sometimes it's spread over 3 days. It's very, very intense, a lot to learn. And NAMI continually reinforces that the model is what is important. We don't get ourselves in a position where we're having a difficult time if we follow this model. We are not professionals. We don't want to be. Will we recommend that people go to a professional? Absolutely. But that's not our role. So we are also advertising for more support group facilitators. So basically what it comes down to is you have to be the peer. You have to have the lived experience. You have to support a veteran or a service member. There's like I said, there's a great deal of training to do. And there is a complete list of what we talk about: commitment, qualifications, and responsibilities and duties that Alyssa will be able to share with all of you as well. I've been a support group facilitator, a family support group facilitator since 2011. And I have been an Oregon State trainer for support group facilitators since 2015. So as much as I love NAMI programs, I teach family to family, and I teach another program I'm going to talk to you about in a minute called Homefront. But the support group facilitators are where my heart really lies the most, because they can be the ones who are right there when someone's in crisis, a family member is in crisis, and we can actually talk to them and help them through that crisis at that time based on the experience we already have. So for me, I've seen it happen time and time again. where we have made it so much easier, not only for that family member, but then for the veteran as well, or the service member as well. So if you want more information about it, you can ask Alyssa, and I'm going to give her my permission to give them my contact information. So you can contact me by email or you can call me. The other thing I want to talk to you about is a program, another program, and it's called NAMI Homefront. And I teach this.
I'm trying to put this together, but I think your program also is on Thursday night from 6 to 8. But is that the same Thursday night, Dan, that you have your veteran support group?
Now, Dan's is for veterans, ours is for family. And
Okay,
and right now it's not on, it will be later on. It's on the first Thursday night or the second Thursday night of the month. And Dan's, I think, is every week, isn't it? So we're just getting started. So it's a brand new adventure for us to do this, but we feel very strongly, all of us that are involved in it, that it is needed. And it'll just take a little bit of time to grow. So what you could all do is help spread the word that we're out there for family members and friends of a veteran or service member. Okay. All right. So now I want to talk to you about NAMI Homefront. So NAMI Homefront started in about 2015. It is a free 6-week class for loved ones of military service members and veterans who experience symptoms of a mental health condition. This class is taught, just as everything NAMI has, by specially trained volunteers with lived experience. When you take NAMI Homefront, it is for the family member or the loved one. The only time we can have a veteran take the class is if they also are support, like for a spouse that is also a veteran. But they have to be able to wear 2 hats, is what I call it. They have a hat that is their own concern, and then they have the hat that they support the veteran. And so we talk to them about when they come to the Homefront class, they need to take that hat as a veteran off and focus on what their needs are as someone who is supporting a vet. And sometimes it's really tough to do that. I had a gentleman one time who tried. The first night he came to me and he said, you were right. This is maybe not for me. And he withdrew. The next time we offered Homefront, he signed up again and he came to the class. And he said, I think I've got it this time. And I said, okay, let's see what happens. Well, he made it about 2 classes. And he said, nope, this is too much. And he withdrew. Third time he tried the class. And finally he said to me, you know what, this really is more than I can do. And I feel really badly for my spouse, but this is just too much. I can't take off the hat of being the veteran. It was too tough for him. And then he came the night of graduation and we laughed at it and we said, now I don't remember that we were able to give you a certificate. He said, no, I'm here to feed all of you. It's really wonderful. I just wanted to have my part in it. So it was a pretty great experience. The topics or some of the topics for the Homefront class are things like PTSD, which you're all familiar with, I'm sure, but we also talk about bipolar disorder and depression and anxiety, schizophrenia, and many of the major mental health concerns. We talk about handling crisis and relapse. It never really occurred to me when I first started this journey that if we got through the first crisis, I just thought that was it. I thought we were, going to be just fine from there on. I didn't know about things being cyclical, and I didn't know about things that wax and wane. And I can tell you for a fact that my husband's been retired since 1995, and we've been down these paths many times, almost exactly the same years later. It's just like it happens around anniversaries sometimes, but it doesn't always happen every year. It just seems to come around again. We talk about communication and we talk about empathy. It still amazes me how many people don't really understand what empathy is, why it's important in our lives for ourselves and for our veterans. And then we talk about self-care, because one thing I will tell you about anyone who is a caregiver or supports a veteran or a service member, we get so involved in focusing on their needs, the needs of the person that we care about, that sometimes we forget about ourselves. And no matter how long I talk about this and how many times I've taught this, I still miss some very key pieces for my own self that I just kept thinking, oh, this can wait, this can wait, this can wait. until it couldn't wait any longer. And it was much worse than if I had addressed it to begin with. It took me a long time to learn the value of stepping out. So some of you may already know that recently I took a week away. I took 5 days away, actually. I went to Skamania Lodge. I made arrangements ahead of time. I did not speak for that entire length of time. I just rested and ate food that someone else prepared and took care of myself. And it can be absolutely amazing how something like that can make a difference in your life. Now, can everyone do that? No, of course not. But there are other ways to accomplish a very similar goal than going somewhere like that. You know, I personally, if I could have pitched a tent somewhere, I would have probably been just as happy. But my days of pitching tents, I think, are gone. So I had to do it a little bit different way. So we talk about self-care. What does that really mean? And what does it really mean to each one of us? I remember early on, I said that what I was going to do for self-care over a week between support group meeting was to read a book on schizophrenia, because I didn't really know much about schizophrenia. That's education. That's not self-care. And NAMI has 3 pillars: education, support, and advocacy. So I was filling one of those roles, but I wasn't taking care of myself in the way that NAMI would like to see us do. It's really, really important to me, however, that we do advocate not only for our loved ones and ourselves, but for those that are in the same community with all of us, and to fight stigmas. The stigma is still there, and I don't really see that it's gone away quite as much as most of us wish it would. So NAMI Homefront was developed to meet the unique needs of families of service members and veterans who are living with a mental health concern. Prior to this development, this program, there was very little available for families and friends that specifically address the emotional toll of loving a service member or a veteran with a mental health condition, nor the impact those symptoms would have on everyone around them. NAMI Homefront is based on the same components of other NAMI programs, which have been extensively tested and have been found to be highly effective across the country. At least 2 of NAMI's programs have evidence-based awards. And all of us, if you know anything about evidence-based, you understand what we're talking about isn't, pushing medication or things like that. We're basically talking about learning ways to talk and to treat other people's concerns. NAMI Homefront is based on the same component, and some of those things are the recognition that mental illnesses are ongoing traumatic events for not only the individual, but for the family. The recognition of the need to improve the day-to-day challenges of gaining care and symptom management. It's also helping people gain the confidence and the stamina for what can be a lifelong role of family understanding and support. Again, I really had no clue when Michael's first diagnosis started, and his diagnosis is 100% major depression, PTSD, anxiety, and dual diagnosis alcohol. So I had no idea. The alcohol part, kind of, but the rest of it, I thought that they would be able to fix it, and then it would go away. And of course, now I know that is not the way it is in most cases. It also empowers family members to be effective advocates for their service members or their veterans. I have found myself standing beside my husband in appointments many, many, many times when he will try to explain to someone what he thinks is happening. And because he gets stressed and so forth, he sounds a little adversarial. And then hopefully there'll be a time for me to interject and try to soften the tone so that someone will listen. Because it's not always easy for me, because usually I'm as agitated as he is. But I try really hard to be there to advocate for him in a setting that sometimes he's not able to advocate for himself. NAMI Homefront is specifically designed for spouses and partners, parents, siblings, adult children, and others who love a service member or a veteran dealing with the complex challenges presented by a mental health condition. And it doesn't have to be diagnosed. If the symptoms are there, if they think that someone has a mental health concern, that's all it needs to be. And in that light, the goals are to provide tools for the family to be used even after the class is over to assist them in responding effectively as possible to these challenging crises, to help family members learn to take care of their own needs, in addition to those of the family. It is even more important than I know how to say. And to help the family cope with the impact of that mental health challenge on the person living with the illness, but also the entire family. And one of the things that was really an interesting revelation to many people in the classes is that a spouse and a husband and wife who have an adult son, perhaps, or daughter, who is suffering from a mental health concern, they may be seeing it completely differently, very, very differently. The impact is very different for them. And I actually, one of the first classes I taught for family to family, I had this couple sitting there and they were looking at each other because when they were commenting, their comments were not necessarily the same. And finally, they came to me afterwards and said, "What's going on here? We're almost irritated with each other." And I said, "It's actually the first time you've realized that you aren't in lockstep. How could you be? One is a mother, one is a father. Your impact is, on you of this crisis is going to be different." So it can be a really sort of a saving piece for many families to understand that the differences in how they each view what's happening is very normal situation. And also to provide fundamental information necessary to family to understand what the service member or that veteran is truly experiencing. We can't nail it every single time, but we can try to help them know how to seek out the right information so they truly can understand and be, and express empathy for that loved one. So that was pretty fast. Does anyone have any questions? No questions?
Actually, that was a really good PSA.
Thank you. It's really important to me that there be a voice for families because I will tell you this also. I should, in fairness, say this. The Portland VA system has a caregiver support program. And over the last COVID 2 years, it has just exploded in numbers. For years and years and years, though, there were 4 women who were trying to be there for every caregiver family that came through those doors. And that was completely beyond, anyone's, there's just no way they could do it. But I was very fortunate that because of NAMI, I knew most of those gals because we had tabling events and we would work together to try to spread the word about the caregiver support team as well as NAMI's possibilities. There are now nearly 20 of them, and they have social workers and RNs and all sorts of things. So recently I started taking a class, 2 classes as a matter of fact, and almost 3, but I had to drop one, about how to process grief.
Yes.
Because it never dawned on me, or nor my husband, I don't think, that we might need to grieve the life that we had, even when he was active duty, for where things have come in the 20-some years since he's retired, because his physical condition has changed dramatically. He's in much worse condition, overall. Of course, age might have a little bit to do with that, but the whole point is it never occurred to us that we might need to grieve that. I mean, I understood grieving someone that you lose to death or, something like that, or a long-term illness, but it never occurred to me that it was important to grieve that sort of thing. So all 3 of these things that I was involved in are being presented by the caregiver support team. They're all approaching it in a little different way. And it was really, it is really, really valuable. And the one that I was most fascinated with, I've had to temporarily withdraw from because I have just too many things going on, because it was writing every day and given prompts by this social worker that's leading this, and I just couldn't continue, but it's there. And how do they find out? No one knows about these things, just like no one knows much about NAMI. We have to get out there and spread the word. So thank you for your time.
Well, if you need help, I'm a certified CDAC counselor too.
All right.
So for substance abuse, and also I'm a grief certified counselor.
All right. Really?
I do classes on that. Also, what I do is in my tribal community, what I teach is what's called living in balance. Okay, mind, body, spirit healing.
Spirit. Yes,
all together in a circle.
yes,
We live in a circle.
yes,
And
yes.
as we start, and we come around, and I also teach the medicine wheel in the 4 directions. That helps the healing process, especially with substance abuse.
Well, Frank, we might just have to talk one of these days soon.
We might.
We might. So thank you for taking time to listen to all of our presentations tonight.